troubleshooter show on 630 KHW. Hi, Tom Martino. Listen, if you get a chance, go to sctnow.org and read about that, and then get ready to talk about it with me. S as in Sam, C as in cop, T as in Tom. Now, it actually stands for StopChildTraffickingNow.org. It's a problem I did not think existed, and so I didn't get involved. Once I found out about it, how can you not be involved? 303-713-TALK. Also, if you go to KHOW.com, look on Tom Martino page, I want you to see this video where I believe they exploited a sex crime because they thought it was funny, and see what you think about that witness. Also, I want you to see how you can get involved with a cut-a-thon this weekend to benefit Stop Child Trafficking Now. And it's a cut-a-thon where all the proceeds go to that organization, and it's at Solera Salon. Now, Mike, what did you have to say? Do we have an attorney to talk about the...
Yeah, we do, on line 9.
Very controversial. This is the Harris Law Firm we use for domestic law on this show, and at mylegalhelpcenter.com, part of my referral list. Mike Shirotis is an attorney. Mike, Matt wants to know, what are the rules if someone gets pregnant? Let's say his girlfriend gets pregnant, she wants an abortion, and he wants the baby. What's the law there, Mike? Okay, we can't possibly talk to him with that, so let's figure out what happened to his line. Okay, let me find out. I'll take each one and see. Okay, this is Matt's line. Matt?
Yeah.
Your phone is a little noisy, so I'm going to hang up and let you listen. Not hang up, but I'll put you on hold, okay?
Okay.
All right, now let's go to Mike Shirotis. Okay, Mike? Mike?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. That other line was noisy, so I just put him on hold. He's listening. So what if Matt has a girlfriend? She's pregnant. She wants to terminate the pregnancy. He's the father. He wants to keep the baby. Are there any rights when it comes to an unborn baby?
Well, I had actually thought that the issues were reversed, that he was taking the other position and she was the one that wanted to have the baby.
No.
So it's a little bit different, but it plays out the same. First of all, this is one of those issues that sort of evades judicial review because it's one of those ticking clock issues, meaning it's got a time limit on it, meaning, first of all, she could run off and it is legal to get an abortion.
It's her body.
Yeah, and she could run off and go do it.
And by the way, I just want to say this. I have to say this. I'm getting a ton of emails saying, Tom Martino, how dare you say it's her body and she can do it? This is a living being. This is a person as far as fertilization. I'm not giving my personal opinion. What I'm saying is the Supreme Court has held that a woman has a right to do this and does not need permission. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, Tom, and me too, by the way. I'm not commenting on the political stuff about abortion. But the issue, and sort of both ways, I guess. So whether you've got one party that wants to prevent an abortion or one that wants to encourage an abortion, one of the problems is that either way, it's an issue that's got a clock on it. Because if you're talking about somebody who wants to get a court to force an abortion, obviously once you pass a certain threshold, it's no longer a viable alternative.
Right, but let's just put it this way. This woman wants an abortion. He wants the baby. Can he get an injunction to stop her?
Well, not under the current state of Colorado law, of course. And one problem is this problem of evading review, that she could go ahead and get it done and no court's going to punish her. But let's say that she doesn't do that. He's also going to run into a problem about how you give a court jurisdiction to do anything in this case. So traditionally, if they're not married, the way you do it is you file a juvenile case, but a juvenile court only has jurisdiction when there's a child, and when you have a pregnancy, you don't have a child yet.
So it's even hard to get into court. Now, I was going to ask you, that brought me to my next question. What if it was your wife? Your wife is pregnant and wants to terminate, and you do not want to. Now, obviously, you would hope a husband and wife can determine this together, but as crazy as this sounds, can a husband, does he have more rights than a boyfriend?
Well, it's not that he has more rights, but he has a forum that a boyfriend
What would the forum be?
Well, he has a divorce court, so he could file a divorce without the child being born, you see, and now he's got a judge to talk to. Now, still, judges are going to say, a lot of judges say, I'm not going to listen to issues concerning children until there are children. But at least he's got a judge to talk to. Boyfriend can't even get his case in front of a juvenile court judge until there's a child. Now, the boyfriend could probably get creative and try to get injunctive relief, as you mentioned, in a separate action. But I think here's the problem. So let's say they get themselves a forum, and they get themselves a timely forum to make this argument to the judge. Then I think they're going to start bumping up against the constitutional law. And it's what you mentioned. You know, the Supreme Court, under the current law, whether you agree with it or not, the Supreme Court says it's a fundamental right, okay? To either get one or not get one is a fundamental right. And the state, the courts in the state can't really interfere with that right because it's fundamental unless there's a compelling interest. So I think father would have to show a compelling interest, a compelling state interest, to even give the state any sort of authority to rule either way on this issue.
I really appreciate that insight because I know exactly what you're saying. So the short answer is you don't have many rights. That's the short answer. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about that home equity accelerator loan, not a commercial, but a discussion on whether or not it still has viability in this today's mortgage market. We also have comments on the abortion, police at the airport, and a lot more on 630 KHOW. Hi, Tom Martino, your troubleshooter. Joe's got a comment on abortion. Now, I'm not going to be doing an abortion discussion. However, the question came up. If you're a husband or a boyfriend and your wife or girlfriend wants to get an abortion, can you stop them? Go ahead, Joe. And by the way, according to the Supreme Court rulings, you probably can't.
Right. Hey, Tom, it's good to talk to you, and I really appreciate what you do for the community.
Thanks,
sure.
Joe.
So, as soon as you started talking about this, me and my wife.
Hello? You're
there?
Yeah, go ahead. You just started fading. Go ahead.
Yeah, me and my wife started talking about it and just went to town with the issue, and she had some really good points to bring up. And,
what did she say?
Well, you know, abortion aside, if you really think about this issue, what it's about is a female's body.
Right.
And by going through a pregnancy, she is putting her life at risk. As little as it is with modern-day medicine, she really is putting her body at risk. And so I don't see how it would be possible, even for a husband, I don't see how it would be fair for a husband to force her wife to go through a procedure that essentially could put her life in danger.
Oh, I understand. But, Joe, there are just as many people listening who think, well, it's not her body. As soon as that egg became fertilized, it's a living being inside her body. There's a symbiotic relationship, but there is a definite person in there. You know, I mean, I'm just saying there are people who will say just the opposite. And you know, I mean, you know that.
And that's true. I totally agree with you, Tom, but there's two lives at play here. There's the mother and there's the child. And I am pro-life. I'm anti-abortion completely, 100%. But I think to have another person, and that's why I'm trying to separate this from abortion.
First of all, I don't even think that the pro-choice people are for abortion. I just think they don't want to stop it. In other words, if a woman wants one, I don't think they're for it. I don't think they promote it like, hey, let's have an abortion. I mean, I don't think so. And I think that those who say they're anti-abortion are just strongly thinking about the baby. But I am not. You know, I'm not. This is not a discussion about abortion. It was a discussion about the legal rights afforded the spouse
True.
At this point. Go ahead. All right.
Yeah, and that's true, and I totally agree. I think the law in this case is correct because it separates abortion from the issue. I think the bottom line is somebody else cannot put another person's life at risk, force them to put their life at risk.
Or force them to do anything is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, okay. All right. I think that we could take it to let's do this. The wife is on a building ledge, and she is and the building is burning, and she's walking over to safety, and she has a baby with her. And having that baby in her arms is making it much more difficult for her to tiptoe along that ledge. She says to her husband, I want to throw the baby. And the husband says, no, I want you to keep that baby and keep walking toward me. We can do it. Now, I want to know what you feel if I have a right to ask my wife not to toss that baby.
Well, that's a tough one. It's really hard to say, and I think it goes back to.
And does the wife have a right to say, well, I can't do it? Well, the answer is, of course, if the woman doesn't think she could do it.
Right.
I mean, first of all, who would ever want to be in a position where you would have to abort a baby? I don't believe there is a woman alive that looks forward to an abortion or wants one. I mean, I really don't. I think there are some that are more caring than others, and others that probably don't care because they've had 3 or 4 or 5. But in reality, it's a terrible topic because no one really wants to talk about it. But then there are there's so many situations you can bring up that makes this argument so volatile. We were told in a genetic testing that, well, Mr. and Mrs. Martino, you understand that we do genetic testing because we're not talking about just Down syndrome. There are some such grotesque genetic diseases, although rare, that your baby would be alive for 14 hours to a week and would be in excruciating pain and look like a little deformed monster. And I'm serious now, and it's very, very rare. But what would you do in a case like that? Well, hell, who even wants to think about that? You know?
I think if there was an element of predictability in this, if you knew that this particular woman could have a baby without any problems, no deaths, then I think the issue would be very different.
Now, a girlfriend, let's say a girlfriend here, if she really knew that this guy will love this child forever, would she still want to abort it to begin with, and why would she? I mean, I don't know. What would the reasoning be? Afraid, fear, or is the reason I don't want that child around looking me up? I want no attachment. Is that legitimate? I mean, there are so many things to consider. Tim, go ahead. What is your comment, Tim?
Hey, it's Jim, Tom.
I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead, sir.
That's
Jim.
okay. Yeah, I had just a legal analogy here.
Go ahead.
The courts have ruled repeatedly when they've wanted to drill or explore for oil or water situations, that when environmental groups come in representing the environment,
right,
they say that they successfully prove that the environment could be damaged.
Yes.
Now, that is not a living, breathing person that can speak for themselves that they're representing. It's
just like, hey, just like Jim
couldn't have a right to speak up to defend his baby's life.
Just like I was just going to say, the environmental groups, you also have groups that speak up for animals, and there are injunctions done for that. So you're right. You're saying, look, if we can speak for the environment, if we can speak for animals, why can't we speak for unborn children?
That's right.
Well,
absolutely.
We can, Tim, we can. What we can't do, according to the Supreme Court, is dictate what a woman does with her unborn child. Until a certain point, the courts have come up with a certain point in time where it's considered a person. It's not birth, by the way. It's another. I forget what it is. But they no longer allow abortions or whatever. But I don't know what that point is. But I think it's somewhere in the 3rd trimester. So I don't know what the answer is. And I would hate to be in that position, because if I knew that my girlfriend or wife was pregnant and wanted to keep the child, first of all, I would hope that my wife and I are on the same page to begin with, or my girlfriend wouldn't have gotten pregnant because we'd be smarter. But let's just say it happened. I think I'd be devastated if she simply said I wanted abortion, even though I would understand if she was afraid and didn't want a baby. But I would love the opportunity to say, I'll take the child. And that's what you're saying, Tim, right?
Sure.
There's
that and the fact that, if they weren't so smart, the courts maybe would realize that, just in layman's terms, you can't take the innocent life of somebody, and it is somebody, right?
Well, and there are people that'll even argue that with you.
Well, it is a body. Even if it's a fetus, it's a body.
Well, okay.
It's somebody.
Well, there are. Okay, I've heard some ridiculous arguments from women's groups saying it's not a body, it's not a baby. What it is, it's a growth. I'm telling you. Listen, Tim. You know, you've heard them.
I know.
I don't listen. I don't know. I don't know. This question came up, and we tried to answer it. 303-713-TALK. Mike says this doesn't sound like Fun Friday.
No, it's not Fun Friday.
Well, Mike, I'm sorry, but we have another topic we have to bring up right now that isn't so fun. I'm glad Matt's here because I want to ask him about CMG. This woman called in. What, did she hang up right now? She wanted to know